Okay, so the topic of today's discussion is auto layouts. Apple they released this feature starting iOS 6, and prior to that we were using auto resizing mask, which we know as struct and springs version, where like for each view on a screen, you decide okay how it is going to scale when the size of its super view changes. So if you're in portrait mode or you switch back to like some landscape mode, you switch back, your main view size is changing. Okay, now the sub views, you need to set those auto resizing masks to make sure they are stretching properly as the size of your super view changes, or they are tied to top or bottom. But there are like a lot of things that you cannot do with those auto resizing masks. You cannot like position views with respect to each other. Let's say like you have a view on a screen, and you have two views on a screen, and you want to say okay, my first view need to be at this position relative to your second view on a screen. Or let's say you have a view and a sub view. You cannot specify using auto resizing mask that okay, my sub view need to be in center, like vertical center, or like horizontal center, or those different things. So to deal with all those scenarios and different screen sizes, we were until now using frames. Okay, so we have to write a lot of boilerplate code to calculate like frames of each and every view, and make sure like when your screen rotates, or like view size changes depending upon the different screens, we are positioning every view which is out there on the screen at the correct location. For which that like we have to write a lot of code, lot of code, and it is like very hard to write that code, and then like very hard to debug that code too. So iOS auto layouts, they help us positioning various views on a screen with respect to each other, and we don't need to deal with all those frames calculation over there. So for my today's topic, I'm going to have like I have like four items on my list. First one is like how we can set auto layouts using storyboards. Okay, and then how to do the same thing using the code. There are like few things for auto layouts that you cannot do using storyboards, like few complex things like when the your view is rotated, you want to lay out your view in some different way. For example, see this view, you have this blue view on top, or let me open it, like I can show you the whole hierarchy. So we have this view controllers view. Then we have this blue view on top, and then we have this green view at the bottom, and this yellow view, you see like it is a sub view of our green view. Okay, but it need to be aligned at the bottom, and it is also having like some fixed width and height over there. Okay, now let's say you rotate this view to landscape mode. Now in landscape mode, horizontally you have like more room. So let's say you want to put this blue view on left, you want to put this green view on right, and like the yellow view at some different position. You cannot do that using nib files. So like you have to follow the code path. No. Yeah, to deal with those scenarios. Okay, and then like lastly, I will deal with some complex like advanced auto layouts where there are advanced features inbuilt that you can use using the nib files or using the code, and I will like take one example from there. Okay, so right now you see like this is my like simple storyboard with this hierarchy, and I have said like use auto layouts is turned off. So if I run this and I'm using iPhone 6 right now, yeah, you see it looks totally different on the iOS 6 screen, because the view that I'm using in storyboard, I believe it is iPhone 5 screen, but iPhone 6 it is having like bigger screen, so it don't look like looks good over there. And for making it correct, we have to use frame by frame if we don't use auto layouts. Also, if we rotate, see, like our view is all messed up. Okay, and if you use iPad version, yeah, we are not supporting it, but I'm just taking like all the scenarios if we want to start supporting it. So, say on iPad, it is again like totally messed up. Yeah, you cannot like even see the green view and yellow view because you don't know like how it is laid out on the screen. So this is where like auto layouts come into play, and like they can help us a lot. So for enabling auto layouts in the storyboard or the NIF files, it is the same process. You click on this view controller, like any of the view controller. You can have like multiple view controllers in your storyboard. So once you enable for one, it is enabled for all. So you click over here on the view controller, and on the right pane you see this use auto layout. You just need to turn it on, and once you turn it on, you see like that there are like some additional elements, top layout guide, bottom layout guide, they are added over there, and now the auto layout is turned on. Okay, still if you run the code, see the same result. The reason is we just turn on the auto layout, but we didn't specified like what auto layouts to use for each and every view over there. So let's set them one by one. The idea being is what I want to do over here, this green view you see, which we see at the bottom, I want to align this green view horizontally like to the left edge of the super view and to the right edge of the super view and to the bottom of the super view. And I want to have this green view with some specific height, which is 88 pixels right now. Within this green view, you see this yellow view. I want to align this yellow view at the bottom of the green view with fixed width and fixed height. Okay, and I want to align this horizontally center in the green view. Okay, now for this table view, it need to be aligned left to the super view, right to the super view, top to the super view, and but I don't want to set any height on the like this blue view. What I want to align this blue view bottom edge with the top edge of this green view. So what it means, like if your screen size changes, if the height is increased, this green view will remain at the bottom, and accordingly the height of the blue view is like increased.
I have a stupid question.
Yeah.
It's been 7 years since I touched iOS stuff. So do they have, you said you made the green view 88 pixel 5.
Yeah.
As you know, on Android we have pixel independent units. So does it matter what pixel? Because screens can have different densities.
Yeah. So like it will take into account screen densities and all.
Okay.
On iOS. Yeah.
Can you do it based on percentage or like so many pixels?
It is like in points, like the pixels on iOS, but you can do few things based on percentage. Like you can set the aspect ratio. Let's say you want to set width and height with percentage, like certain aspect ratio, you can do that. Okay. So let me set like all those constraints one by one. I will start with the green view, which you see at the bottom, like this view. You see like this is highlighted. So once you enable the auto layout, you see like these 3 buttons at the very bottom on the screen. There are like a lot of different options, like how you want to align the leading and trailing edges for that view, or like if you want to center it horizontal in the container, vertical in the container, those things over here. In the second one, we can like constrain this view with respect to super view, like various edges over there. You can also set like width constraints on width and height over here. You can see like set the aspect ratio, which is like based on the percentage, and then like you can say whether it is equal heights or equal width with respect to some different view. Also, you can say like if you want to align the edges of view, let's say you're like one view at top, one view at bottom, you want to align the leading edges or you want to align the trailing edges. So there's like a lot of cool stuff that you can do. The third thing we don't like use mostly, but it tells mostly about how your selected view will behave based with respect to its subviews and superviews. So like I'm not going to explore that in this session. So for green view, like I selected this, and as I told, like I want to align it to the left of the super view, and it is 0 pixels. Okay, I want to align it to the right of the super view, and then I want to align it to the bottom of the super view. Okay, and when you do that, like you see there is this bottom layout guide, and which you see over here, like bottom layout guide, top layout guide, and we also have some option for like constraint to margins. I'm not going to cover this in this session because these margins you can consider those as a padding for the super view. So let's say, and those padding maps into UI edge insets in the code. These margins, like we cannot modify in NIF file, but you can modify those margins in the code. For what top and bottom layout guides are, let's say we have a navigation bar on top. Okay, then you don't want this blue view to go under the navigation bar. You want that blue view to be like at the bottom of that navigation bar, so it is not hidden. So these top layout guide is that comes into play. It is automatically calculated by the system, and if you specify, okay, I want to put my blue view at the bottom, like with respect to top layout guide. So once the navigation bar is there, it will automatically shift it downwards. Okay, and simply like bottom layout guide will come into play when you have like the toolbar at the bottom. Okay, and you cannot modify this through like these layout guides through storyboard, or even you cannot modify these layout guide through the code. Okay, but I'm not covering those layout guides for now. So what I will do, I will like escape all the margins and layout guides because it is like entirely different things to discuss. Not I will not cover in this session. That's why like I unchecked like see this one layout to margin, because by default the margin is 16. So I don't want to like use the margins, and I don't want to use the layout guides. I just want to align it with respect to the super view. Okay, and the fourth constraint, I want to add the height constraint over there. Okay, I'm not adding a height right now, and I will show you like what will happen. So it says like I'm going to add 3 constraints for that view, and if you go to this pane, over here it is showing what all you have added. So you see like trailing space to super view, and it is highlighting. You see like over here it was highlighted. Your trailing space to super view, if you click on this, you can see like it is 0. There are priorities too. I will like discuss priorities like little later. Okay. Then we have like leading space to super view. Then we have like this bottom space to super view. Okay.
I have a question here. So for the green section that you said the height to be fixed 80%, 88 points, right?
Yeah.
So once you have the set of the if you use the auto layout, will the like if on every device will be the height be 88, or are they gonna be scaled to a different?
It will be scaled based on the pixel density.
Okay.
Okay, but like these are just points in which you specify.
Okay.
Okay, so like system will do everything like magically for you. It is like just like when you're defining it based on the pixel.
Oh,
Okay,
I see.
so on the top, like you see one yellow button over there. It is saying something is expected over there. So when we set the constraint on a view, we need to like fully satisfy all the constraints. So what we did, we set the left constraint, we set the right constraint, we set the bottom constraint, but it is unsure like of the top constraint. So that's why like it is saying like something is missing. So the constraints that we set are ambiguous right now. So it keeps like giving you those warnings. So if I go ahead and like set the height constraint over here, see now the constraint for this view, green view, is like all satisfied, and then like we don't see any yellow warning over there. Now for I will just set a constraint for this yellow view. So for this yellow view, what I need it to be fixed width, fixed height. I want to align it to the bottom of the super view. Okay, again you see like this red is like something missing over there. Okay, yellow is something ambiguous. Okay, so we didn't set the Y position. We set the bottom position, we set the width and height. It is complaining about that. So select this.
See the dotted line. The dotted line actually shows where it will be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when you run it, so like
So
what?
when you run it, the view will appear there.
Yeah. So what I want it to be horizontal, center in the container, like in its super view. So I'm going to like select this one and see that like red and yellow buttons, like those warnings are gone. Okay. Now the last one is the blue view. Okay. So similarly, I want to align it to the top of the super view, left of the super view, right of the super view. Add these three. Again, like a red symbol over there. The reason being because I didn't specify any height or the bottom constraint. But as I mentioned earlier, I want like to align the bottom of this blue view with the top of the green view. So how you can do that? Like select those two views. Again, go to this button and see like there is one more option over there, spacing to the nearest neighbor. Okay, it was not there earlier. Okay, then once I add this one, it is adding two constraints over there. The first constraint, it will add on the blue view, which is saying like its bottom need to be aligned with top of the green view. The second constraint it will add to the green view, which says my top need to be aligned with the bottom of the blue view. And I will show you like how those are added. So now like I've added all the constraints. There is like no missing constraint or ambiguous constraint. So no red or blue, like yellow warnings over there. So I will start with this blue view. So see, it is saying bottom is aligned to the green view. Like bottom is supposed to view the green one. Trailing is supposed to super view. You can see the like actual values over there. It is 0. Okay. Leading space to super view, like this one which is highlighted, and top space to super view is again 0. Okay. Similarly for my green view, you see like height constraint is added over here. Bottom space to like sometimes it adds few default constraints when you use interface builder. So we need to take care of that. This is like some bug in the export. Like I didn't need that one. Okay, height, top space to the blue view over here, then like trailing space to super view, leading space to super view, and then bottom space to super view. Okay, and you see like there are like few constraints for the subviews, which says like align center to this yellow view, and like bottom space to yellow view is 0. Then if you go to the yellow view, actually it says like it need to be aligned center to super view, width and height are fixed, and it need to be at the bottom of your super view.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
So, no, you're supposed to say, no, stupid, Joanne. So if this is being set up, right, this will help like with iPhone 5 versus 6,
Yes.
all that. But if you were doing like a different layout on the iPad, but it's still universal binary code or whatever, right?
So
you do this all for the iPad separately and just say, okay, if it sees an iPad,
then you
you
cannot
want
do.
it to display differently on
Yes,
the iPad.
I understand that totally. Like, so you cannot do that using the storyboards. Okay, then you need to use the code path. Okay, so you can still like set those constraints in the code, and I'm going to show like after this one,
Okay.
like how we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, now see if I run this. All the views are there.
Can you try a different screen size?
See, yeah, I will do that. See, the landscape mode, it automatically aligns everything properly. Because I set the height of this green view to 88. It is 88, but it automatically calculated, readjusted the height of this blue view accordingly. Okay. So see, everything is like working magically if you rotate to.
Yeah.
Let's do it on iPad. You see, like everything is just aligned properly.
Okay.
Like whatever you rotate, and you see the height over here. It don't look like 88 because it is automatically adjusted to the pixel density over there.
So you mean that once you have the auto layout turned on, then you only need one storyboard across iPad and iPhone devices, right?
If you want
It depends, yeah.
Okay.
Like based on like Joan's question, like if you want entirely different layouts on iPad and iPhone, you can do that too.
Okay.
Okay, but then you cannot do that in a storyboard. Okay, so this is all like you can do in the NIF file, like the storyboard file. Now I will move to the view, the M file, and try like setting up the constraints using code. First, I will try to set the similar constraints over there, and then I will try to set the like some different constraints based on the orientation. Okay, so and like while setting the constraints in the code, there are like two ways you can do that. Either you can use the APIs, which will map like, okay, this view need to be aligned with respect to the other view in this way, or there is like one visual format auto layout guide. Like if you use those, it will do magical stuff and turns what you have specified visually into the constraints. I will show you next. Okay, so what I want to do over here, I have this API like set auto layout constraints. I'm going to enable that. You can do that in view did load, cause like once your view did load is called, your view is actually not presented on the screen. So at that time, like I'm defining like all my constraints, which will come into play like when view will appear on the screen. And you see all the like the implementation of this API. I will just walk through this. So the top 3 lines, I'm just like removing all the constraints which are already set through storyboard, so that like I don't need to like set them, so that they don't conflict with each other. Because the other thing that you can do, you can call this setup auto layout constraints API multiple times in your code. Let's say you're calling it in view will appear, or you want to do something different in like view did appear. Then using these APIs like remove constraints or like remove constraint, you can remove the existing constraint and like add that new one. Okay. So see this line, like the way constraint is set over there, it's like constraints with visual format. Okay. So if you use this API, you need to like specify this visual format language. I will explain like what that is. And the other way, if you don't want to use the visual format, because again you cannot do everything with the visual format, so you can use the other API like the constraint with item, like this bottom API, where you specify constraint for a view, a specific constraint with respect to the other view. So at top, like you see this dictionary of variable bindings. So what this dictionary is, once you use the visual auto layouts, you need to like just pass in some name like green view, blue view. It is just a string. How system knows like which view actually you are referring to. So you need to create this dictionary and pass that in over here, like it is passed. So it knows like when you say blue view, what you are referring to. Then the first line, like this first line over here, I'm saying my green view need to be aligned. Okay, first let me introduce you with the symbols. This means H means like horizontal. I'm dealing with the horizontal thing. V means I'm dealing with the like vertical now over here. This line over here, vertical line, it means super view for whatever view it is in middle. Okay, this is and like the highlighted one is to represent the view. Like you for a view, if you want to represent it, you represent it in the square braces and just write the name over there. So what it is saying over there, horizontally, I want my green view to be aligned with the left of the super view and to the right of the super view. Okay, you can also do this way. If you want to have like some specific numbers, let's say some 10 pixels or something, you can also do this. But if you don't specify anything, it will just assume like it is 0. So in my case, it is a 0. Similarly, like for blue view, I want it to be aligned left and right of my super view. Now see this one, how we decode this. Now vertically, what we want, I will start with the green view. This green view you see is aligned to the bottom of the super view. Okay, like this symbol is the super view symbol. Then I'm saying the height of the green view is 88. This is the way like we can specify. Then your blue view need to be aligned to the top of the super view. And blue view and the green view, they need to be aligned with respect to each other. So if you write like this, it says like the bottom of the blue view need to be aligned to the top of the green view. Okay.
How about if I specify the gap space between?
Yeah, you can do that like the same way. Like yes.
What about you want to add weights for green view? You have height 88. What about weights?
Weight of the green view.
Yeah.
I already specified like over here. I don't want any specific weight. I want it to be aligned to the left and right of the super view.
So it will be full weights for green view.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. I mean, what about the yellow view? If you want yellow to make vertical and that's the next line.
Yeah, I'm just covering it. Okay. So the yellow view you saw over here, like this one.
Yeah.
You know about its position. So I'm saying like my yellow view horizontally, it need to be. See, I'm not passing any super views over here. Okay, so I'm just saying like horizontally, the height of the yellow view need to be 100 pixels. Okay, and like vertically, height of the yellow view need to be like 50 pixels. But the alignment, center alignment, I cannot do with this visual constraints because like they don't provide it. So I need to use like this format then. So over here, I'm saying like the yellow view need to be like green view, like, or for us like it doesn't matter. Register to green view. My yellow view center x need to be equal to green view's center x. Okay, and multiplier 1, like these multipliers and constants, you can play with it. Let's say the constant, if you say -10, so it will like shift left to the -10 pixels, +10 right, and then like you can also play with multipliers, like you want 10 pixels twice, okay, like something. So we can play with those.
So,
yeah.
Gaurav, all the things you showed here, at least this part of the code, it's basically how we can do them all in the storyboard.
Yes, like that's what I did earlier.
Yeah,
okay. And then this is the important API that we need to call layout if needed. Okay, so what this is, and I'm calling this API is on the super view, like which is the view controller's view. So once we call this API, it will say, okay, like we modified some constraints on the views. Make sure like you take them into account. Okay, now if I run this code, You see, like it is just working exactly like this. And if you see, I comment out these lines. You don't see anything because like we already removed all these constraints over there, which we added from the storyboards, but we didn't add any new constraints, so I don't know like where to show those views. Okay. So any question about like how to set that in the code? Okay, then I'm like.
Why does someone do that if it seems so much more harder than using the storyboard?
It depends, like if you want to do that. I'm just demonstrating right now. There is a way to do that.
Yeah, because sometimes
Okay. Now,
dynamic.
yeah. Now,
Sometimes you have like the game with the dynamic and then a little bit.
okay. Now to your question, like if you want to have iPad,
With a different.
yeah, with a different layout.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking an example of iPhone only, where I want to align, like I can just. So if it is in portrait mode, I want to align like this, like your blue view,
Yeah.
your green, and then like your yellow view at the bottom. And if it is in the landscape mode, I want to align like this. Your blue view, like yellow view, which is again 88, and then like this over here. Okay, so in portrait, it is 150. For this view, it need to be like 50, 100. Okay, and in this case, like width is 88. Okay, in this case, like height is 88.
Oh.
Okay, and like in the portrait mode, bottom of blue view need to be aligned to the top of the green view. In landscape mode, like right of the blue view need to align to the left of the yellow view.
So like for me, I'm like, okay, if this was all my hotel listings.
Yes.
And then this was the map. Then in the iPad view, I want the hotel listings. And I
Yes,
want the map
and then
here.
you can move it over.
Okay.
The hotel stuff, yeah, all those stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like commenting out this portion. Set auto layout constraints. I don't want to call it anymore, and I've already implemented like this API.
One thing, so you said like currently we're not using this auto layout, but using something else to so that everything aligns properly.
We use like auto layout in a modal view or something.
Like we are using mostly like frames. So for each view, you calculate the rectangle of that view, and then make sure like what is the like frame of the super view, and then you align it like pixel by pixel. Okay, okay. So the let's say the X position of your container view need to be half of like something like that. Okay, like some calculations over there. So see what this API is. This is some API that I've implemented, which will take into account the interface orientation. Okay, so based on the
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
So here you provided all the constraints, information to the constraints, right?
yeah.
So now if I go to your storyboard view, will I see all of them set?
Yeah, they are already set over there.
If I don't set up the storyboard view,
Yes.
I just do it via the coding.
Yeah, you can do
If I
that.
go to the storyboard view, I can see.
No, you cannot see those.
Visually, could not render.
Yeah. So you have like those are separate because I already set into the storyboard. So these will conflict. That's why like you see these lines. I'm removing what is already set, and I'm like try to set again in the code. Okay. So this API is like kind of similar to this API that you saw. The only difference is this API is taking into account the interface orientation. Okay, whether it is into the landscape mode or to the portrait mode. So if it is in the portrait mode over here, I want to do the exactly same things that I did earlier. It is exactly same. If it is in the landscape mode, you see I'm setting it differently. So the blue view need to be aligned to the top and bottom of the super view. That's why it says V, like if you see that diagram. Okay, similarly green view need to be aligned to the top and bottom of the super view. Now horizontally, blue view need to be aligned to the left of the super view. Your green view need to be aligned to the right of the super view. Your width of the green view is 88 pixels. Okay, and your blue view and green view edges, like vertical edges, they need to align with each other. Similarly, like for the yellow view, I'm saying like horizontally it need to be 50 pixels wide, vertically it need to be 100, and then you see like instead of center X, I'm setting like center Y, which says like my blue view, like no sorry, yellow view need to be vertical center in the green view. Okay, and then I again call this layout if needed. So there is like there can be like some common code over there. If you want, you can just move that common code out of like those blocks out of the if else statement. Okay, now how to use this one? So this is simple API. Like when your view is appearing, you can do that in view did load too. I'm just doing like in view did appear because I have the correct interface orientation at that time when the view is appearing on a screen. So I'm saying like once the view will appear, set for whatever interface orientation is at that time. Okay, and then this is the new API. View will transition to size, which is iOS 8 onwards. And on iOS 7, you remember there was API view will rotate to interface orientation. So this in this API, when this is called like when my screen is about to rotate, and but at that time my correct interface orientation is known. Okay, and you can get the correct interface orientation with this API, the coordinator, which is passed in this API by the system. So I'm not dealing with those, like what this API is doing. I'm just like try to run this on my iPhone 6. Sorry, like one thing happened. Okay, so for one more thing, for the view containers, like view controllers view, which is like super view. Okay, this one. This super view, you see like there are no constraints added like for it. It is just for the it's yeah, like descendants view, but like for this view there is no constraints and you cannot like add anything to the view controllers view. But like there are a few auto resizing like mask with storyboard set automatically for those, and now they're conflicting. So for removing those, they provide like this API, translate auto resizing mask into constraints equal to no. So I'm saying, okay, I don't want to do that. Because I'm like taking control everything like myself. So see, if you rotate, it is aligned like differently. Horizontal mode, it is aligned differently. You still see a glitch over there, like some byte animation. So those are to deal with the animation. We can still improve this code. Okay, but things are happening magically now.
Let's say like if I want this, the layout should be the top and bottom for iPhone either way, and if for iPads I want it to be aligned differently.
Yes, you that like you can detect, okay, like it is iPad or it is iPhone, and just like set those constraints over there. Okay. The last thing, like with yeah.
So for NS layout constraint class, is that two API you showed? One is with visual format,
yes,
and the other one is the constraint with items. With items, are those two the most commonly used?
Yeah, those are the two APIs only. Yeah. So if you see like the constraints with visual format, it is like add constraints. Okay. But like if you define manual, like it is add constraint. That the reason being, because if you translate this line, like this string to constraint, there are like many constraints generated for different views. So we are adding like all of those which the systems give us to this view.
So underneath of the add constraints with the Clara, it's probably translating it to each individual item.
Yes, like yeah, they will take care of that.
Yeah. Items and then add to it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
can I also remove constraints?
Yes, like we are doing this over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Similar to the views, you can also refer constraints using IB outlet. Okay. So if you let's say on runtime, like if you user presses some button, you want to reduce the height of the blue view, you can like grab that constraint, store that in a variable NS layout constraint, and just set like that the constant for that is now earlier like it was 88. Then you can say like for the green view you can say like it is now 100 or something. You can do that. Okay, one more thing like I want to just quickly add over there. You see like I'm using all the hard coded values over here. Okay, like 88, 100, 50. So there is also a way to pass these values at runtime. Like you can calculate those values at runtime. The way you do this is like these lines. So what these lines are doing, I have to define like a number with like a yellow with view weights and height, and then you have to create a matrix with variables binding the way you did it for the views. Okay, and this matrix we can pass it over here. See this matrix. Now instead of 88, I'm not like changing this one because I don't have like variable for this. You can say over here weight is this one, and your height is instead of 50 this one. Okay. Similarly, like if you're in the portrait mode, your weight and your height, and then you need to pass this matrix, this API and this API. The result you will see is same. Okay, so depending upon like whatever scenario, you can like play with the width and height using like visual layout constraints too. Okay, now the last part that I want to demo over here is like some advanced auto layout concepts. So I have this table view. Okay, I can show you the nib file too for this one. Sorry, this one. So I have this table view where I have defined like one custom cell, and there is this label on that table view. Okay, now you see like when I'm running this one, what exactly I want. I don't want to change the height of my cell. In this case, what I want these labels to be aligned to the center of this like of the cell, depending upon the content. Like so, if there is like a single line in on that label, it need to resize itself to single line. If there are two lines, it need to like change it height automatically to two lines, to three lines, or like whatever. But at the same time, I don't want this label to grow to get beyond the height of my cell. So I want to like restrict its height to the height of the cell. But if less height, I need to like my label to dynamically like resize itself and center it vertically in the cell. So how you can do that? Like, and I'm just doing that using storyboards. So I can do that too, but like I don't have that much time right now. So for this cell, like for this label, let me change the background so it is like more clear. Change it to some like light gray color. Okay. Now if I run this code, you see like it is not vertically aligned over there. To add all those constraints, what I want, like now I'm like selecting this label and I'm saying, okay, I want to align it to the left, to the right of my cell. Okay, you see like it is complaining about the missing constraints. We will deal with that. And then it need to like resize itself automatically. So for that, I need to like set the number of lines to 0. If the number of lines are like anything greater than 0, it will take that into effect. So for dynamic resizing, you need to set the number of lines to 0 over there. Now for this label, I want to say it need to be aligned vertical in the container. Okay, and it is complaining about the placement. So just like fix the placement. Okay, so it is aligned like over here. It took like some default height that I don't know. So if you see the height constraint. Right now it is having like this 17 height. I don't want like the 17 height over there. So let me add the height constraint and then like modify it. Let's say I want to set the height by default to some 40. Okay, but and let me fix this one first. Placement, because it complains about it, so it automatically increase the height of that one. Now the height of this view need not to be equal to 40. It need to be less than or equal to the height of my cell, and the cell's height currently is 120. So you can just like set some constant value over there. If you want to deal with like dynamic, you need to use the code then. Okay, so it need to be like less than or equal to 120. You see the priorities is still 1000. I will tell you like what priorities are. Okay, now you want to resize this label based on the content, 1 line or 2 line. So for doing that, select the label. No, not over here, sorry. You select the label, go to the Autolayout constraints, and you see like there is something this called like content hugging priority and content compression resistant priority. So content hugging priority, how the priority goes. Priority like 0 is the minimum priority, 1000 is the highest priority. This is what like they've defined. Like it is the definition. So something in like 500 is the middle priority. So let's say you have two constraints on a view. One was like my height constraint. It need to be like less than or equal to the height of the cell. And second is the content hugging priority. Okay, like how to resize it. So content hugging priority is dealing with the height, and the other one height less than or equal to the height of the cell. It is again dealing with the height for that level. So there are two constraints on that level. System cannot simultaneously satisfy both the constraints. So you need to set one constraint priority a little weaker, which can be broken if there is ambiguity. Okay, so is it clear? Okay.
And so what if you don't set them? I mean, if you add one, does it automatically get incremented? Or
no. So like if there are two constraints on a view which are ambiguous with the same priority, system will like randomly decide at the runtime, okay, which one I'm going to break. Yeah, and then you have unexpected results. Okay, so over here, if you see the height constraint, I want it to be highest because I don't want my label to go beyond the height of the cell. So I'm not changing it. It need to be 1000. Okay.
Do you mean that the results are undetermined, or do you mean that it really,
undetermined? Yeah, you don't know like what happened at runtime.
Not actually random. Like if you run it twice, you will get the same.
Yeah, the same result. Yeah. But you don't know like what is happening over
random
there.
would be more fun,
Yeah. Okay. No, like it is not random. Okay, and this vertical, so there are two priorities. I don't want to change the horizontal like weight. I just want to deal with the height. So for my label, I'm saying like, okay, make it something like 900. Okay, 900. You can say it like set it to 9992, but like 900 is still less than 1000. So it will break this one if the height is going to increase with the height of the cell. Okay, and similarly, content compression resistant priority, it is kind of like similar, but I don't know like when to use both of those. Like what is the difference? How those come into play? I haven't played with those. Okay, so setting all of these. Now I'm going to like run my application again. You see the height of the label, like it is automatically calculated based on the content, and each of the label is like you see center aligned in the cell. So this is where this content hugging priority and content compression resistant priority, like those will come into play. So that's my demo for today.
That's nice.
any questions that you guys have? Thank you. Android is having like this from so long, so iOS they adopted it. No?
Actually, iOS we have the since I also